the opportunity to recognize Mr. Paul Trampy from our Board of Supervisors representing the Salem District. Mr. Trampy, raise your hand, let them see you, give you some love. Thank you. In fact, we appreciate Mr. Trampy quite a bit. He always shows a great interest in what we're doing here in the school division. And this board member, I think I can speak for the rest of us here on the dais. We really appreciate you, sir. Thank you. I also want to recognize from the Spotsylvania County Sheriff's Department, Mr. Sergeant Perry Clark. If you could raise your hand, thank you for being in place. All board members are present. We have a quorum. We're going to do something a little different. We have the Boy Scouts here from PAC 165, and Aiden Gorham is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. When he gets to the podium, if you could, please rise to your feet for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, and he's going to be accompanied by some of his fellow Scouts. To the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Scouts. I appreciate that. I used to be a former Life Scout, and I appreciate what the Boy Scouts do in order to teach citizenship and also the art of being a great citizen of this country is showing respect for its institutions. So I thank you for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I have in front of us an agenda. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Ms. Blaylock, seconded by Mr. Twigg. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposes? Hearing none, the motion carries 7-0. Moving now to 2.01, pre-public hearing on the fiscal year 2018 budget. Dr. Martin.
Good evening. The pre-budget public hearing provides an opportunity for the public to make comments to the board at the beginning of the budget building process for the 2017-18 fiscal year. At this time, speakers must limit their comments to those pertaining to the upcoming budget or budget process. School board policy requires speakers to state their name and address or voting district for the board. Students must state their name and school. Each speaker is allotted 5 minutes. Time to address the board. The first speaker is Paulette Johnson.
Good evening. Oh boy, we're still eating turkey. Good evening.
Good evening.
Chairperson Baron Braswell and members of the Board of Education, congratulations on you are beginning to embark on the awesome task of deliberation serving as the fiscal stewards for the fiscal year 2018 pre-budget hearing. Good evening again. My name is Paulette Johnson, and both my husband, who is here seated, reside at 14 Hopkins Branch Way in Stafford County. And we've lived there for 3 years. We come here this evening as directors of a new organization that is formed called Optimum Health Enterprise. And we hope to serve as a resource to you, our community, to better address the conflicts in our schools and in our community. We are a new registered member of the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce, and we provide health and wellness workshops designed to provide professional skills and competency to reduce student suspensions, expulsions, that in many ways lead to incarceration. I served 12 years as an elected member of the Syracuse Board of Education and served 2 terms as board president. My bio of my public and community stewardship is provided in your packet that I prepared for you this evening, and I hope you find this impressive. I do. This evening, we are here to guide you to take under consideration the importance of how to view areas of your budget that would allow for restorative justice practices. And these practices would enable your staff, students, family members, and the overall taxpayers to have more of a prudent type of delivery of service. I've attached for you in your packet the National Center Brief on Restorative Justice Implementation Guidelines. Now, the reason why I decided to attach this is it would give you an opportunity to kind of have a backdrop of what are restorative justice practices, what they could look like in your schools as you go line by line in your budget and you set those very important priorities. I understand firsthand how difficult the budget process is. It's a planning document, as you well know. It's a plan into the future. What I would hope, and Oliver would hope, is the future within our district, and we're going to be talking to, because we are chamber members, chamber represents 5 districts in this community. We want to be inclusive and talk to all 5 boards about how board member stewardship today requires that we use restorative justice practices as a backdrop when we look at school suspensions and the amount of dollars that are being spent in that endeavor. And I think as you begin to look at this closely, it will wake up your eyes and say, well, maybe we need to look at this differently. And now this is the pre-budget time, so we're hopeful that we can assist you. I understand the sunshine laws as a school board member, so if you want to work with Oliver and I, we are prepared to work with you individually or collectively, making sure that you don't have a quorum. We do have workshops that we're providing. You have our card. You can contact us individually if you're interested beyond this evening. And I'd be willing to talk to you on an individual basis in any way we can to assist you. Thank you so much for your time and your service on this wonderful board. Take care.
Mr. Chairman, that's all the speakers that signed up.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board as it pertains to the pre-budget hearings for the 2018 budget? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move on to 3.01, VPI literacy. Ms. Flenard.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Baker and Dr. Martin. Early childhood professionals understand the importance of language and literacy in preparing children to succeed in school. They know that early literacy plays a key role in fostering the kind of early learning experiences for preschool children that research shows are linked with academic achievement, higher graduation rates, and enhanced productivity later in life. This evening, Tammy Jones, Virginia Preschool Initiative teacher from Cedar Forest Elementary School, will share with you that learning in a preschool classroom is more than simply child's play. When you take a deeper look and you listen intently, you will recognize the literacy-rich experiences that children encounter through both play and structured activities on a daily basis. Ms. Jones.
Hello, thank you for having me here today. When you think about preschool, many people think it's just play. We have custodians that come into our room and say, oh, I thought you guys just played all day. But when you really start looking at what we're doing and the things that the kids are involved in, you realize the richness of the language that's going on, the richness of the learning that's going on from each other, from us as teachers, just the entire environment. So today I want to share with you some pictures and some videos of some things in the classroom, just to give you a little snippet about a regular preschool day, but the richness of the entire day and how much vocabulary and learning is going on. So basically, we have language in every area of our classroom. So language in building and construction, Just a couple pictures of some of the kids of things that they've built and things that they've done. You can see them with their construction hats. And as they're doing these things, they're talking the entire time. They decided to make a car, and then they decided to go get the police officer outfit in it, and the police officer's drawing the workman to his work that day because he was running late and his car broke down. And just the information that comes from them, the ideas that come from them, doesn't even come from us. But we stimulate them by asking them questions about what they're doing and where they're going and what kinds of ideas they have. But they start the whole process. So these are just some of the pictures and some of the ideas of something you would see in the building and construction. Language in the real world. We always add real world connections to our classroom. And you can see with the pumpkin, before we even do that, we have a lot of rich language about, what do you think is inside of this? How much do you think it weighs? And then basically cutting it open and doing all of that. When we do the trees, we'll talk about deciduous and evergreen trees and things like that. And as we're going around, you can hear them talking and asking questions. We cook a lot, so you can see them with the apple peeler slicer. We made applesauce, and just the vocabulary and the talking through that, and what kinds of things you cook at home with your parents, and the vocabulary and the communication comes alive. And then, of course, you can see them watering the plants every day, but lots of daily life things as well with communication. Language and home living and dramatic play. It's a great place to just to sit and listen and hear their conversations. And you can kind of see them dressed up. We have a parent that came in one day to be with our star of the week, and she was all involved in their activities. And you see them with their babies. And we changed this area out into doctor's offices and a veterinarian or a postal service. So we do those types of things, and you can just stand and listen to the richness of their language as they're talking. And as a parent or as an educator, you will stimulate that with questions and things like that. And they'll ask you things that you do, and the connections build and the relationships build. Language and everyday learning. Every morning we have a lot of choice time, a lot of free time where they get to choose what to do. In the morning, I put out a lot of learning type of activities that they get to choose from. So everything that you see in these videos is everything that they choose to do. We're not making them choose to go there. So the fact that they're wanting to go and sort these and make letters and find letters to make their names is amazing. And it's very powerful to watch because these kids come in, most of them with not much exposure to learning to the alphabet. Some come in never knowing how to write their name or not even knowing one letter. And we have many that come in that don't even know English. We have an Arabic little girl in our classroom, and we have Spanish. And so by the time you see this going on, you're like, wow, they really want to learn. The excitement is there, and the conversation and the language just keeps building. You see language through literature. Even with her little nap time picture, cracks me up. She's over there reading, and she is zonked out. Pete the cat, you can see them constantly going over there just to put the headphones on, and they're singing and they're dancing, and then they start making up their own stories. And you have Go Away Big Green Monster, the little boy in the corner. I have a video later on, but he decided to do that. He went through the entire book and drew his own monster, and then went through and talked about it going away. The monkeys jumping on the bed, everything comes up to life for them, and everything that we teach them is an experience for them to grow on. And obviously they love it because, again, these are choices they choose to do every day. Language and sensory and scientific discovery, amazing opportunities for language and development there. And then here's a few videos that I'd like to share. And this is about process art, and this little girl completely made this on her own. She mixed red and yellow, made orange, and decided to make her own little pumpkin. But we had nothing to do with this, and then afterwards I asked her to explain what she did.
I painted the pumpkin orange, and I put jewels on it, and I put stars on my mouth, and I made circles like a rectangle moon.
So she's talking about the jewels on there and the shapes that she used and things like that, in case you didn't hear it. And this is another one with the art.
What are you guys making over here?
Monsters, and it makes the blue and yellow to make green.
What else are you putting on them?
Some red beans.
Mia, What did you put on your monster?
Teeth and a heart and some eyes and a nose and a turkey and some... I don't know what's that. Red hair.
Red hair. That's a beautiful monster. What are you making, Jaden?
I put some triangle.
What else?
I don't know what this is.
Is that a square?
I don't know.
That's a square. What did you use a square for?
For make the mouse.
What else do you need to put on there?
And that's just at the Art Center's open time, choice time, and they decided to go there and make monsters that day because we had read the Green Monster. And again, this isn't a morning time activity where we have a choice of a lot of different learning things, and they pulled this off the shelf and started doing this together. And the one little boy on the right, he asked the other little boy to help him because he was starting to get stuck, and they finished the whole alphabet and sang the entire song, making the letters and sounds with this. So it was really cute. And we have language. We have a teaching center where they act like they can be teachers. So 10 Monkeys on Jumping on the Bed is a big hit. So they'll go up there and reenact it together. And you can see the little boy in the background counting the numbers in our little calendar station as well.
Mama called the doctor and the doctor said, "No more monkey jumping on the bed." No more monkey jumping on the bed.
So he gets into it. This little boy, again, this is a morning time activity that we just laid out. I had never introduced it, just kind of laid it out there when we did farms. And literally, I turned around, I looked over there, and he had them all sorted out. And the colors, and then the pigs, and the horses, and things like that. So I just kind of asked him what he did.
So what'd you do here? Wow, what else did you do over there? You did a great job sorting all by yourself. High five. Awesome work.
And this is another one where we do lots of nursery rhymes, and this is a different nursery rhyme where they go through the spider climbing different things. And you can see the little girl in the background with the chair with the book. She's Arabic, so she came in not knowing one word of English, and you can see her helping him now. And this has only been, 50-some days of school so far.
Keep the sun and keep the rain away.
And you can see them helping each other out with that, and she's trying to tell him what to do, and it goes through the whole book. And you can see the kids in the background on the smart board. We do a thing called Map Man, And they sing out how to draw a person, so they're over there helping each other draw that as well. And this little boy came up, we've been working on patterns, and he just came up with this pattern. I said, oh, what kind of pattern did you make? Which is a pretty intense pattern for a little 4-year-old. So he just kind of explained it real quickly.
The pattern. Green, blue, red. Green, blue, red. Green, blue, red. Green, blue, red.
Great job.
I'm done. And again, we do a lot of acting things out, and this was the 5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate. They kind of got it wrong on parts of it, but you see another little girl coming in the back trying to correct them a little bit. It's just a small snippet of it.
Light. The second one said, there are wizards in the air. The second one said, we don't care. We don't care. No, the other one said, oh no. Okay.
So we do a lot of those types of things, a lot of felt boards, a lot of hands-on manipulatives with that. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And this is probably my favorite, the one I talked to you about, the big green monster. He went and got this book on his own and decided he wanted to go through the book and draw the entire monster himself. So he's explaining it a little bit, how he did it, drew it.
Monster has 2 yellow eyes and 2 brown dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9. And his hair is gonna go away. Bye-bye.
So once he drew it, it starts going away. And it was really cute at the end because he starts reading the book with his little marker.
Face, green nose, and his green face, and his white face, and his paws are gone, and don't go home. Don't come back if I say so. The end.
So you can see when these kids came in, it's amazing. I wish anyone could see a preschool classroom when they come in the first day, and to know that we're only in basically the end of November, and they are so rich in their language and rich in their experiences that they've learned so much so far. So if anyone ever tells you preschool is just child's play, it's play, but it's productive play. And I'll end with, there's a lot of language opportunities everywhere in the classroom. You can go from the corner where the little kids were, the little boys were on the light table making letters out of the little pieces, and then they decided to make letter tools. So they got their science masks on or whatever and started making scientific tools with it and telling me all about them. And then you have the geoboards, of course, which is the shapes. My son came in on Friday, and you can see him in the midst of everybody, and they were all talking about what they were building, and the cars and the buildings and things like that. And you have a little girl over there with a bird mask. So when you come into a classroom, you might think it's chaos because there's lots of noise and there's lots of movement, but there are rich things happening in every corner of that room at all times. I wish I could hear it all because I know I miss a lot. And there's a lot of things that I wish I could have shown you, but the opportunities come, and it's hard to reenact those opportunities. The little boy over here on the right, Jaden, he came up with 2 triangles and made a rhombus. He's like, look, I made a rhombus. But little things like that, you're like, wow, they're really making these connections. And I'll end with one my favorite story of my children. I have 2 little Spanish boys that came in not knowing hardly any English at all, and watching them interact has been amazing. So about a month ago, one little boy had a meltdown. So he ended up having to go to have some quiet time. So his little brother came to me. He's like, Miss Jones, can I talk to my brother? I said, sure, go ahead, Brian. So Brian walks over there, and he's like, Christopher, calm down. Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. And so we went over and talked to Christopher and said, okay, when you're ready to come back and talk to the other child and use your words, and you can come back. So he finally came back, he used his words and got what he wanted, and his brother turned to me and says, that's so cute. And it's just adorable that these kids came in, and what they have done and what they have processed in this little amount of time is amazing. So as you can see, language is very, very important with preschool classrooms, with preschool children, and everything that they're doing now sets them up for the future. And I strongly believe that the more children that we had in preschool, the stronger their educational values would be, and we would have less dropout, we'd have more productive learners later on. So whenever I hear anyone saying anything about preschool, I'm thinking, wow, we do have a very, very important job developing these minds and getting them excited about school early on. So I thank you for your support, because I know that you guys all support our program along with Head Start, and come over and come check us out anytime you'd like. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. I'd like to ask if you could come back. Can she come back? So in case some board members have any comments or questions they'd like to make, and you can address them. Mr. Blaine?
Very impressive to see what it is that you accomplish with those children. For the benefit of those folks who are watching us at home, how does one qualify the child to enter your program?
I am not sure the exact qualifications. We are economically based, little different from Head Start, and we are right kind of above the poverty level. We're trying to service those children. I know Dawn Miller's here. She probably would know these answers better, because I don't do the intake of it. We just work with the children. So I know there's a lot of criteria. Am I right? There's a long line of criteria that...
And to find out, who would they contact?
Dawn Miller.
She's on her way up, on cue.
So someone
This is our
can
preschool
call
goddess here.
someone can call the school department and ask for Dawn Miller.
Right?
Is that correct?
Yes, they can actually call that will be situated at the Center for Family and Preschool Services, and you'll be able to call us at that number, and there'll be people in there that can help the public when they call in. It's a lot of people know where we are now, and being at the courthouse has been a great area, and so they can find us really well, and we can explain over the phone. It's also on the website. On the home page is the application, and the front page of that application gives the things that they need to apply for the program.
Are some financial requirements, I understand?
There are actually, Ms. Jones, she explained that really well. Both of the programs serve lower socioeconomic families, and there are also selection criteria that the community, what we discover in the community, if there are higher needs. For instance, one of the things that we track is teenage parents. We also, parents that may not have a high school diploma, and different criteria of that nature. And then we select the children according to those risk factors, which can impact their education. But it is economically based is the first criteria. Mm-hmm. And Ms. Jones explained that VPI is a little bit higher of income, and so we're actually serving between the two programs. We're able to serve more families that are working and striving and trying to do the best that they can do. And having VPI lets us offer these services to some families that are they really can't afford preschool, but they wouldn't have qualified for Head Start. So it's great to have both programs in the county.
Thank you for both the presentation and your response to how do you get in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blaine. Any other comments or questions? Oh, go ahead, Ms. Grant.
I just had a question for you about part of our legislative priorities that we actually just added today has to do with helping to support some lobbying for the legislature this year to kind of give us some more flexibility in how we accept people into VPI, more on local based instead of state based. So I was just curious as how many people are we unable to serve that apply for the program each year?
So on average, Well, this year we had the VPI expansion, and we thank you for that, and Tammy mentioned that as well. That was really wonderful. We were able to serve 36 additional children. So on the wait list right now, currently, I'm sorry I don't have the numbers with me, but I'm going to say it's probably about 80 children that are not being served at this point in time. And that is also because of the expanded guidelines that VPI offers now.
So they qualify, we're just unable to get the local match to
That's
meet their
correct.
needs.
Yes. And we do
The state
report-
money's there, but we don't have the local side.
And we report that to the state when they ask us why the different counties are not serving all of the VPI children that the slots are available for. And the majority of the districts in Virginia report that it's the local match that they can't meet. There's only one county that reports that their barrier is space, but almost all of us report. And we report that to the people that we speak to through Head Start and through Virginia Preschool Initiative, that the state needs to also maybe look at some of those, some of their budgeting for that as well, for the local match. Because the money is there from the state.
Right, the state money is there, and we just don't have the local funding to support it.
That's correct.
Ms. Shelley?
Thank you so much. I just wanted to make a comment. What I'm seeing and what you're saying that the students are doing, talking, building, while they're talking, they're expanding their vocabulary. And then they're building their prior knowledge. And with all of that, that is going to help our students, those students, to become better readers. Because I've read some studies that says many students are poor readers, or comprehension is poor because they don't have the vocabulary base. So you are helping those students, and there's another reason why it would be wonderful if we could offer that to more students. So thank you so much. Awesome presentation.
Ms. Blaylock?
Well, I wanted to thank you too, Ms. Jones, but I'm going to end on a totally different note, and she will die because I'm going to embarrass her to death, because Ms. Jones is one of the finest teachers I have ever met. I heard about her work with young children when I first moved here years and years ago, and has never stopped. I have only heard wonderful things, and you're representative of many amazing teachers in our county, but just having one, when I walked out tonight and saw it was you, I was like, yes, this is going to be great. I know the work you do, and so I want to take a moment to thank you for that work and the fact that you give it to Spotsylvania County. It is truly a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blaylock. Mr. Twigg?
Hey, I trust English is the language we're speaking in this classroom,
Oh, yes.
and we're introducing some students to English, and that's all well and good. When we send these students over X number of years, you've all been instituting a similar program, which I think is excellent. Do they seem adequately prepared, the majority of them or most of them, as they jump into their next grade level? Or do you have a track on that?
Well, when we were at John J. Wright, all of our kids went to different schools, so we really didn't know how they were doing. We didn't track. That's one of the things we had talked about, trying to track them better. But now that we're in the school and a lot of our kids do come back and go to kindergarten there, it's easier for us to track. So I go back and make sure, see how my kids are doing, and honestly, it is tremendous. By the time they leave us, we have the PALs that we do testing on and other testing that we do, but they go on to kindergarten for the most part. There might be a couple that struggle, but for the most part, they are so ready for kindergarten, and the teachers are so thankful. Yes. And it's an amazing program, Head Start and VPI, because it really does get them ready for the challenges of kindergarten.
And you could even tell yourselves that as good teachers instructing children over 9 months, you can determine amongst yourselves if they're ready, and it sounds like that's what you're telling us, and that's wonderful to hear. Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I also want to, I know Ms. Miller has data in terms of how students start in the beginning of the year and their progress into the spring, and you'll see in all categories that we measure by GAP, there's significant improvements in all areas in math, literature, English, and a variety of other measurables that they use. Is that not right, Ms. Miller? Yeah, and so I think there's great value in preschool education, and I appreciate your presentation. Not only did we get an opportunity to see the children taking advantage of this environment where the learning was rich and engaging for them, but we had an opportunity to talk a little bit about the financial challenges, and I saw Mr. Trampy pulling out his pen, taking down some copious notes to take back to the Board of Supervisors. So it was well-timed, if not orchestrated. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Graham.
When you mentioned the other counties across the state all reported the same hardship, that they couldn't expand the program because of lack of local match. Do you have any idea how we compare to, say, Stafford or like any of our closer counties? Are they able to provide more spaces for VPI than we are, or is it about the same?
Stafford is serving more children through VPI, through their grant as well. I think, I'm not sure about Caroline. I think there's only about 4 or 5, if it's that many, that are utilizing all of the VPI slots that are available to them. I know Loudoun County, because we've been talking about them for instructional purposes recently. They are one of the counties that does not report the local match as a problem. But majority of the programs are local match. If we could just meet the local match, the school divisions, including Spotsylvania Stafford, we would definitely serve more preschool children.
Okay. Again, thank you, and Ms. Miller, again, thank you for your presentation, even though it wasn't planned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to 4.01, recognitions and awards, Ms. Flanard.
We don't have it.
Done? Okay. Then we'll move on to 5.01, public comments. Dr. Martin.
The public comment segment of our board meetings is a time to receive recommendations, suggestions, concerns, and comments from the general public. Each speaker is allotted 5 minutes, and we ask that they clearly state the name, address, and/or voting district for the board. A speaker may request additional time from the board should one's 5-minute allotment expire. We ask that you keep your comments focused on the issues and that all speakers maintain a level of decorum and mutual respect for one another. Mr. Chairman, we do not have any speakers signed up at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board? If you could, please come forward and make your presentation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the board? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. And we'll move on to 5.02, board member comments. We'll start with Mr. Twigg.
Nothing this evening, thanks.
Ms. Blaylock.
Just one thing, if you'll allow me to read from my phone. For you Massaponax fans, we have advanced. We'll be Friday night in the Massaponax Stadium across the street. It's us versus Stonebridge. We'll be going for the 5A North Region Final for 5A State Semifinals. The tickets are $8 at the gate. Go Panthers.
Timely announcement. Let's go with Ms. Shelley.
I have no comments this evening.
Ms. Graham.
I have budget comments this evening. I just wanted to remind everybody that this time of the year is when the superintendent is responsible for presenting his needs-based budget. And obviously, at the end, the revenues have to equal the expenses. So this is a time of year where we have lots of wishes, but sadly, everything can't be met. So this is the time of year where you really need to be in contact with your school board members and discussing what your priorities are and helping us, decide how to best serve you as a community so that we can work on getting the budget situated as much as we can before the money starts flowing. So just want to encourage everybody to, we had a hearing time now, but you can always contact us individually to get your thoughts across.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Mr. Blaine? No comments? Dr. Meyer?
No comments, thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple comments on the 1st of December, Thursday at 6 o'clock here at the school board office. We will be hosting an award ceremony for those schools in the high school, middle school, and elementary school divisions that came in first, second, or third place in the 5K race against teen violence that we hold every year at Cortland High School. We look forward to seeing you here. We look forward to greeting you and thanking you for your continued support in our endeavor to raise awareness against teen violence, and also the proceeds that come from it are used to provide scholarship assistance to students that have earned through merit the opportunity to go on to college, and they'll need that assistance. So we appreciate everyone's contribution in that regard, so I thank you. I also like to state that, as it was mentioned earlier by Ms. Gramp, it is budget season. It's coming around the corner, and we have some budget challenges ahead of us. We have budget challenges in terms of funding from the federal government, state government, and also the local challenges that our local board of directors have to deal with. Board of supervisors have to deal with, and so it's going to be a challenging year for the county. It's going to be a challenging year for the school division, but we need to continue to work together and outline our priorities for our children so that we can make sure that our fiscal year 2018 budget is a successful budget. After all, a budget is nothing more than a financial representation of what we value, and so we want to make sure that we place our value on our children, and we show it in the way we fund our budget. That being said, this particular board member is going to make pleas once again for our budget to incorporate a significant reduction in activity fees. Those, if you've heard me say it before, they're very oppressive fees that need to be reduced significantly so that our parents have be able to keep more of their assets in their own pocket to help their children with higher educational costs and expenses. And we also need to look seriously at a plan for activity buses to support our rural students, and so that they have the opportunity to take advantage of educational opportunities that occur after school. And there's a variety of other innovative things that we need to take a hard look at. And so we have to make some really tough decisions. Obviously, we can't do everything, but we need to state what our priorities are and do our level best to look out after our citizens in our county, but first of all, looking after our children. And we do that in the budget process because it is a financial representation of what we value. So with that being said, I'm going to turn over for superintendent's comments. Dr. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Braswell. I just wanted to share with the board a couple of very quick updates. One, I appreciated you letting me share with you the Teen Enrichment Summit that I was involved with, along with some of our staff and many local partners, the Saturday before Thanksgiving holiday, and we had a really good turnout, and I want to thank everybody that was involved in that, including Massaponax High School, who helped to host it. But we had over 100 attendees on a very busy weekend before the holiday, and the breakout sessions that were for parents, students, and also the main sessions as well as the booths were very successful. And so we look forward to debriefing as a steering team this week and continuing to plan future opportunities for that type of outreach in our community, as well as our ultimate goal in the school division, building a mentoring program across secondary schools. The other thing that I wanted to share, over the past several years, our local PTO and PTA groups, we're fairly split across the school division in terms of schools that are PTO and those that are PTA. And to try to galvanize all of those organizations in partnering with the division and our ability as a division to support them, I have reached out as part of our communication and community engagement goals in the strategic plan. We have a breakfast for all PTO and PTA presidents, and it looks like we have the majority of them able to attend this Thursday here at the school board office, and we will be partnering in developing or in providing that breakfast with both Sodexo, our food service provider, and the Spotsylvania Education Foundation. And we hope to reinforce what our mission, vision, goals, and values are both now and for the future, as well as soliciting feedback from them about how we can continue to support their efforts and to really just try to help build capacity in terms of our volunteer network. And the Spotsylvania Education Foundation will in turn be able to share what their projects are, and so we're really looking forward to that. Also, I just will remind the board that in the past several years, there has been in some way, shape, or form a budget advisory committee that has been called the Superintendent's Budget Advisory Committee. Just to remind you that this year I have integrated that process, which usually involved 2 or 3 meetings per budget season. I have integrated all of those processes within the many existing advisory groups that I have, including teacher, parent, as well as student. And so if you know of citizens that feel like they still want to participate in direct budget discussions, I'll be glad to provide the dates when we will be providing that to parent groups as well as teachers and staff. So that will be ongoing over the next couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Moving on to 6.01, board committee reports. Do we have any board committee reports? Mr. Blaine?
I also have a comment I might say about VPI, if I may add it in a little bit late. I can not stop talking about the importance of the preschool level. And you had a good illustration this evening, I think, of what we can accomplish with children who have needs at that level. And those children are much better prepared for school when the formal school starts. And if they have that foundation, we've helped them immeasurably. If we've misgiven it to them, they'll never get it in many cases. So I have strong feelings about that. I do want to talk briefly about the governor's school, a couple of things that have happened and are happening. The parents are going to have a parent information night on December 12th or December 8th at River Bend and Spotsylvania High School as well. So parents who have children that you think might be interested in the governor's school, that'll be an opportunity to explore that a little bit. And this week, tours are starting for governor's school at each of our schools. We've already reached at the middle school level, made arrangements to bring potential governor's school students who are currently 8th grader, and you'll be able to observe a CGS class if you have a student who you think is interested in and is eligible. Finally, the Kilroy robotics team of CGS hosted a regional elementary and middle school Lego robotics competition on November 26th. There 26 teams participated. It was highlighted, you might have read in the Freelance Star, and that's, I think, just one example of what robotics teams can do when they have some community support and outreach, and that all builds into what we call the STEM programs, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and Governor's School is really doing a terrific job in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blaine. We'll do Ms. Gramp and then Ms. Blaylock.
No, she's got our report.
Okay, Ms. Gramp.
So from the Audit and Finance Committee for this month, we are just looked into how to decrease some of our mandated costs. As we all know, most of our budget is mandated somehow, whether it's a federal mandate or a state mandate or education mandate or health insurance or VRS or post-employment benefits, it's all mandated. So we're really trying to look into, this month we were looking into how to deal with our health insurance rate increases. As we all know, those are just skyrocketing. And with the VRS still scheduled to increase as well, those are just two mandated costs that we're really trying to find a way to reduce. So we're working with some other school boards to try to lobby the governor to delay the VRS increase, and we are also working to find ways to work on our health insurance rate increase. So this month we had some presentations, and we'll definitely be having more and looking at that much more in depth over the next couple months.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. Any other committee reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda items, 7.01 and 7.02. Dr. Martin.
On the consent agenda this evening are the minutes of the November 7th budget work session and the November 14th regular meeting, and also donations which are usual and customary. Staff asks that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. We have a motion by Dr. Meyer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Shelley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposes? Hearing none, the motion carries 7-0. We have no action items this evening, and informational items are usual and customary. Do we have any unfinished business? We're at 10.01. Any unfinished business? No unfinished business. 10.02, any new business? New business. Seeing none, we'll move to let it be resolved that the board conduct a closed meeting for the following purposes: consideration of candidates for employment, assignment, promotion, demotion, and discipline of employees, or resignation of employees who have a contractual commitment to the board as permitted by 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Dr. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Blaine. All in favor? Any opposes? Hearing none, we are now in closed session. Motion carries 7-0. Motion to re-enter open session by Ms. Grant, the second.
Second.
Second by Dr. Meyer. Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposes? Hearing none, the motion carries 7-0. We are back in open session. We'll now certify the closed meeting. Whereas the Spotsylvania County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such a closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Spotsylvania County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting. May I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Blaine. Second. Second by Dr. Meyer. Roll call vote, starting with Ms. Shelley.
Shelley, aye.
Meyer, aye.
Blaylock, aye.
Braswell, aye.
Blaine, aye.
Amp, aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Items from closed meeting 13-01. Dr. Martin.
Motion is that the school board accepts the recommendation of the superintendent for personnel appointments, assignments, resignations, and retirements as presented in closed meeting and permitted by Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Dr. Meyer. Second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Shelley. All in favor? Aye. Any opposes? Hearing none, motion carries 7-0. Motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Ms. Gramp has moved to adjourn. Second? Second by Ms. Blaylock. All in favor? Any opposes? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned 7-0.